Hi, this is Vincent, and...
Bob.
Where are you?
Down here.
How'd you get in there?
They're here.
Today, we're reviewing Poltergeist.
2015. So we got this remake of Poltergeist. A lot of people complained about it ever since it was in theaters. Really unnecessary and really bad CGI and such like that. I'm just saying what they're saying. This is not what I'm saying about the movie. But Vincent, why don't you tell us what it's about?
Well, it's about this family who, I forget the family name. They move into this house, and some crazy things start happening to them. So the ghosts kind of start messing with the kids a little bit. The kids try and tell the parents things, but the parents don't believe them. And as the movie progresses, you find out that the house was actually built over a cemetery. So that's kind of what's going on in the house. That the house is basically haunted, I guess, in a sense.
Do you feel like it's necessary to say spoiler alert in a movie that's so similar to the original?
Not really. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the original, so this is kind of like me watching it for the first time in a sense. But the first one is so memorable and so like made such a dent in movie history that if you don't know what this movie's kind of about already, then honestly, I don't know. I don't think spoilers.
Okay, so let's talk about how this movie differs from the original, because this is a remake. It's not a sequel. You know, it's a more modern retelling of the same story, basically. I think the biggest thing was that they were like unemployed. Instead of being like a house salesman in the new housing development, and people had already lived in the house before, which to me brought up the question, why did everything start happening? They kind of had an explanation. It was a little flimsy. Let's see, what else was different? I think towards the end, the ending was much better on the original, and so they did bring back some of the same lines, although not as well done. I think for me, my biggest complaint is everything they did was done less well than the original. Right?
I think so. I mean, from what I remember and what I've read from other reviews and seen, like they pretty much just copied it, but not as well. I think it's because it's already been done. It just didn't have the same impact as it would have if it was.
I don't think it's that at all. I just think that they did it less well.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the original, you know, they fall into that pool, and all the skeletons start coming up, or I think it's the wife falls in. All the skeletons start coming up, and then like the caskets start shooting out of the ground, and they're like, oh my god, they never moved the cemetery. And this one, they bring in a guy from a paranormal TV show, and he's like, you know what? I bet they never even moved the bodies. Like, that was the reveal. Just some guy who knew absolutely nothing about the place. He's just like, I bet they never moved the bodies, and they're like, oh yeah, that's it. like just stuff like that. They just did it cheaply.
It wasn't well built up.
Yeah. There was like one jump scare in the whole movie, and it wasn't even a jump scare.
Yeah.
The acting was all pretty terrible.
Yeah. Had some of the worst child actors I've seen in a while.
Vincent hated the little girl. There was one thing though that I did like better about this one. It was that they showed the people or whatever that were in the closet.
Oh, that called the spirit and stuff.
Yeah, because that was one thing I was curious about if they were going to do, because in the original, you never see anything, and they did show them. So I liked that part. That part was kind of cool. Another thing that they didn't do as well was when she actually crosses over into whatever, you know, it was so cool in the original where like everything started getting sucked up into the closet and everything was going crazy, you know, and then they bring in the paranormal team, and like everything's going crazy. Well, in this one, nothing's even happening.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? I mean, they could do those effects back then, but now all they can do is just make one chair fly across the room. Like,
I think they tried to make it different because they were like, well, this was already done. Let's try to do something different. But the way they did it differently was they took things away.
Yeah.
Instead of adding things,
Yeah.
like if they did that same thing but they added more to it, it would have been better than what they did.
Yeah. So, anything else to say about this one?
I mean, special effects were okay.
Yeah.
Nothing too spectacular.
I don't understand why people were complaining so much about the special effects. I didn't think they were bad.
I thought the spirits looked a little cartoony, but like.
But they were just like pretty much plain black. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be like. I guess towards the end you see them a little better, but I don't know. I wouldn't complain about the special effects. I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything in it to me that was just like, oh, that's terrible. You know, that stuck out really for me. So let's finally grade this thing. I mean, it's hard to talk too much because it's already been made. You've probably already seen it. The story follows pretty closely, other than a few details. It's pretty close to the same story. And we don't want to give away too much of the ending stuff.
Yeah.
So I would call this, at best, a very average modern horror, PG-13 rating. You know, there's not much horror, and I have to though grade it down because it did so much worse than the original, which always happens, obviously. But to me, it was just glaringly, outright worse. You know, in every way, everything they did was worse. So if you just take the original, make it worse, that's what they did. And why would that even be like? Why would that be your objective? To make it worse? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. It's hard to make a good horror movie, especially remakes. You really have to be different. But like I said, different meant they took things away. It's the same but worse. The worse than the original. I don't know, if you're looking for a good horror remake, if you haven't seen Evil Dead, watch it. That's a good one.
Evil Dead plugged much, but so I think for score on this one, I will give it a 4 out of 10. Like I said, if it had improved or at least stayed as good, well, it couldn't not as good. Whatever I'm trying to say, I would give it a 5. But I think just because it did everything so much worse than the original, it's got to come down to a 4. I wouldn't call it a terrible movie by any means. Like I said, I feel it's like an average modern horror. You know, nothing spectacular, but it's not by far Troll 2 or anything. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. I'd give it a 10 out of a million. No.
What is that out of 10? Like 0.01?
0.01. Yeah. No, if I had to give it out of 10, I would give it I'd probably give it a 2. It's not very good. I definitely wouldn't watch it again. But, yeah.
Alright. Well, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more videos. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bob.
If you're interested, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow on Facebook, follow on Twitter, and follow on Instagram.